Good evening. This is Fred Blanchard, host for Adrenaline Motorsports. You're listening to Adrenaline Radio. You were talking also about the NHRA rule book. You talked about some other things that are being changed. I think you mentioned, were they doing some inspection there on different parts of the car?
Well, they showed on the internet a little bit. Normally they don't talk about anything till 3, 4, 5 days after the race. And I guess what they did is they took a few of they impounded a few of the blowers off the top fuel cars and funny cars, the different brands, in other words, manufacturers, so they could check them out and see what's going on. And
is this in regards to, is there a certain specification, Steve, that they have to have?
Well, yes, there's a certain specification. Everything that's on a top fuel car today has been taken to a tech department and been reviewed before it is okayed to run at a drag race. So the engine builders, the racers themselves, whatever, if they build them in-house or they buy them from an aftermarket manufacturer, all of the new parts, anything that's new, has to go and be submitted to NHRA and approved. They have a situation right now, last year, that they had the cylinder heads, and they were all approved, and one of the manufacturers took and made the cylinder head a little bit taller, and he was doing it for safety, so that when it's hard to explain here now. People that don't know racing, race motors won't understand. But if what it is they made a bigger, they made the head taller so that when the oil would not leak down, like between the valve cover.
So they have like a trough that catches the oil.
Right,
basically.
It's got a trough on the head now, so that there's no leakage. Because a lot of times a lot of oil go to the top of the engine, and then the engine starts having problems, and it erupts, and oil gets all over the cylinder heads and all that kind of stuff.
So it comes out on the headers
right.
And that kind of thing. Okay, I got you.
Now you're still going to have fires from the bottom side. You can't do nothing about that because you got your nitro and you got your hot headers, and you've got everything's hot and it just starts burning because you got your fuel and oil and it just starts burning. Very hard to put out. They have like four 20, I don't know, 4 or 5 20-pound bottles on the cars now. I mean, it pretty much puts the fire out. The dragsters doesn't carry as much because the drivers are in front.
We're going to see, we have in studio guest Steve Montrelli, and he's elaborating on some of the things that has gone on with the Winter Nationals here with NHRA, and apparently there's a lot of thing going on behind the scenes in regards to inspections of various performance parts on some of these cars. Go ahead, Steve, and let us know what else is happening here with the inspections and that kind of thing.
Well, we were talking about the blowers, and evidently some of the blowers that were taken off the cars and inspected by NHRA did not
meet the criteria, I guess.
Meet the criteria,
yeah.
Absolutely. So what they have done is they're looking into that, and NHRA Tech Department is reviewing these superchargers, and they do not meet the current specifications. And the main reason they don't meet it is because they were not brought up and shown to the Tech Department before the race and okayed. So they're going to they're not going to be able to run those blowers at this coming race this weekend. NHRA is working on resolving the issue.
Got another question here. You talked about nostalgia funny cars, and we talked about the big go here this coming month, the March meet. But some of the people that haven't seen the cars, they're the early version of what the current cars are. Are they going to run anywhere else besides the Winter Nationals? You got any information on that, Steve?
Yes, I do. If any of the spectators haven't been to the races or would like to go to the races at Phoenix, Arizona, they're going to have 8 nostalgia funny cars there. Would be very interesting for the people that haven't seen them or have seen them and didn't know they were going to be around for a while. There will be 8 of them there. They're going to run them one time on Saturday and one time on Sunday. All it is exhibition to promote the Bakersfield race.
Also, it's strictly a promotion for the nostalgia racing at Bakersfield.
Correct. Well, and also for the NHRA spectators at the big shows to see the cars, and people can write in or fax in or send in emails to NHRA saying they'd like to see them. Hopefully that's what will happen, that the nostalgia cars will end up at the big show.
Well, that's what the next question I was just going to ask. Do you think that the possibility that they're going to include those in between the qualifying runs with the big show cars and start showing some of these funny cars and nostalgia dragsters and things like that?
Well, I think you're going to see somewhere down the road. I don't know if it'll be sometime this year, next year, or the year after, but I think you're going to see where there's going to be a 16 funny big car show and a 16 funny car nostalgia show, or 8 and 8. I don't know. It just depends on the economy and the sponsorship thing. A lot of the sponsors are having problems right now. There's probably after Gainesville, you're probably going to have 3 or 4 cars, which we already know 2 cars right now that are only going to run 12 races of the national races. That means there's going to be a lot of the guys that are living in whatever town that the racetrack is in that maybe has a car that can only afford to run it once or twice a year. He'll be at that race and he'll be able to qualify because there won't be enough cars.
Well, that's the way it used to be years ago. I mean, you had the traveling pros, and then you had the local guys that would be ready to race. And when the traveling pros came out, all the local guys wanted to come out and see if they could master the track and see if they were competitive enough to race against these guys. I remember that back in the days of Lions Drag Strip. I never forgot that, and also the old San Gabriel Strip that you had the big shows, but it was not always NHRA at those days. It was the American Hot Rod Association as well. They put on some pretty good shows too. But today, I think there's only one other sanctioning body. I think that's the IHRA, and their show's a little bit different. I think their deal is showing the top fuel cars, of course, and but they have pro mods. I think that's a big part of what they do, and I think that's not so much popular out here on the West Coast, but I think it's a big thing back east, and I think that's a big program, as I hear there's quite a few, up to 40 sometimes, that show up for an event. But add to what you were telling me about, I know that we've got some other things going on, but shed some light on anything else that is coming up here, Steve.
Well, you mentioned the IHRA. IHRA, what they've done is they've bought in. They're going to have 10 races. They have bought in 8 top fuel cars. They have bought in 8 pro injected fuel cars.
Well, that's a new program, Steve.
Right. They just ran it 3 weeks ago at West Palm Beach, Florida. They had a sellout crowd all 3 days. What they do is it's come in and make 2 runs, and the top 2 car on Saturday, everybody runs, and the top 2 cars, the 2 quickest cars, come back for the final. And then the next day they do it all over again. You qualify, and then the fastest 2 cars come back and run in the final.
What kind of a drag race is that? What's that called? I think it was something like Chicago style.
Yeah, it's kind of called Chicago style. Everybody runs, and then the quickest 2 come back for the final. It's very interesting that way. And then they had 8 nostalgia funny cars there also. So they're trying to bring a bought-in show. They're trying to do something a little different than NHRA because of the economy. They want to make sure they have the cars. Just going to have to see how it works out. They're going to have 10 shows that way this year. But the injected fuel cars needed someplace else to go. There are some rules that have been okayed for this IHRA so they can run 100% nitro in the inject cars.